only a friend.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the North American Cultural Evening Presidential Debate 2011. Your candidates... Your candidates for President of Lee Pochun United World College are Robert Johnson from the Blue Party and John Robertson from the Red Party. Tonight's debate will be a courteous exchange of opinions. Clapping, booing, hissing, and fruit throwing will all be allowed, but please do keep them to a minimum. We will have a we will be having a format of individual questions for each candidate, as well as dual questions to both candidates. Let's begin. Robert Johnson, your opponent has accused you of having a desire to kill animals, and even worse, of fraternizing with communists. How do you respond to these accusations?
Well, Anders, in a time when the line between killing animals and fraternizing with communists, and fraternizing with animals and killing with communists becomes increasingly blurred, I think more than ever, we need a strong and free Lee Pochun.
Our next question goes to Mr. John Robertson. You've talked during your campaign on a number of issues. What are the main issues that you stand for?
First and foremost, I stand for the protection of the privacy of the individual. On that platform, I will eliminate room raids for good. Secondly, I believe that this school has no right to tell us how to live our lives, and that as free, God-loving individuals, we should be allowed to have alcohol and cigarettes as we please.
Thank you for that, Mr. Robertson. Mr. Johnson.
I love you.
Mr. Johnson, would you explain your main campaign platform to the audience?
Yes. It's made out of wood. Metal rods holding it up, and yeah, it's a great place to sit.
Mr. Robertson, with the selection of a new principal, severely behind schedule, and concerns about next year, what do you think should be done to solve this crisis?
You know, Anders, that is a really important question, and one central to this campaign. And just the other day, I was talking to other students all the way in Block 4, and they had a lot to say about this issue. And that's what this is really all about, listening to people. Johnson doesn't listen to the people. He thinks everyone wants to be like him. He even said so. I understand that people think things, and knowing what those things are is important.
Yeah!
What did the people say when you spoke to them yesterday? What message is coming from the people to John Robertson?
The people thought that not having a principal was a problem. And that someone should do something about it. They are right. Politicians need to stop talking and listening and start doing.
Haven't you been talking and listening yourself?
I don't know. Are you saying that I would not do? As a politician, I would do everything that this school needs done today, maybe tomorrow.
I love you, John.
Mr. Johnson, if you were to be elected, would you change your residence to be closer to the capital, the seat of power?
Well, you know, I would never go back on my Block 4 route. Those are my people, the real people, the hard-working people who have to wake up 10 minutes before class. That ethics, that moral values that people have, those are what I want carried with me and would make me a good president. So empathetically, no, I will not move.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Now a question for both candidates. Many people have concerns about the canteen. What would you do to resolve these issues? Mr. Robertson.
I believe that now we must end, for forever, the discrimination based on the consumption of meat. I have a dream that one day, vegetarians and non-vegetarians will come together to eat falafels in peace and harmony.
Yeah.
Well, though I agree with Mr. Robertson, his way of going about it is heavy on rhetoric, but not much on substance. You see, I will have our greatest scientific minds working on a hybrid between vegetables and meat. This will be achievable for both parties.
Our next question for both candidates. Many feel that there is a lack of transparency in the SCC. Students worry that their voices are not heard. What would you do to fix this issue, Mr. Johnson?
Thank you. Highly inappropriate. The saying goes, a camel is a horse by design of a committee. We must stop the endless bureaucracy of this school. Tear down committee after committee. And down with the SCC.
Yeah!
I don't believe that we should throw the baby out with the bathwater. This is a serious issue that needs to be tackled intelligently, using scalpels, not axes. I would establish a student consultative committee on the reform of the student consultative committee. The first meeting would be how we will vote for members of the SCC-RSCC. Then there will be a meeting to decide how the SCC-RSCC will make decisions. Will they vote as representatives of the committee, or should every idea for reform be put up for a vote during block meetings? All of these are very difficult issues.
They are. Mr. Johnson, one last question for you, and then we'll be taking some from the audience. With some teachers leaving the college next year, what proposals do you have to retain our remaining teachers?
Well, you see, the school seems to do a pretty good job of retaining students on campus. What I suggest is a permanent gating be given to any teacher who expresses a desire to
Now we'll be taking questions from the floor. Anyone?
How do you manage to be so handsome?
Mr. Robertson.
Plastic surgery.
It's your support.
Well, you know, it's not easy, and it takes hours and hours of work. But as president, I would be willing to put in these hours and hours of work to look like this every day. Not just
Next question from the floor.
Mr. Robertson, what do you intend to do about the allegations of you being a teddy bear murderer? I think the school community would be rather concerned about this.
These allegations are entirely unfounded. I did not have murderous relations with
Thank you. Any more questions from the floor?
I will give you my teddy bear every time I
Mr. Johnson, what is your stance on freedom?
my stance on freedom.
Do you hate freedom?
No, I do not hate freedom. But you know who does hate freedom? Mr. Robertson.
Mr. Robertson, do you have any reply to this?
I believe the people know the truth, and that I do not hate freedom as well. And you can't just say that.
Thank you. One more question for both candidates. Terrorism or communism?
Why can't we have both?
Thank you very much to the audience and to our candidates for showing up. The elections will be held tomorrow. Stay tuned and look forward to choosing your president of Lee Pocher United College.